Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. The AAA exams is on Monday, the 5th of June 2023. And today is Friday. Just 2 days away is the AAA exams. And I know these are very nervous times for students. And mostly at this point in time, the students are very nervous about what they should do in the last 48 hours. And lots of questions comes to their mind and they need instant answer of those questions just to be on the right track. So I thought of conducting this Facebook live session today and on my YouTube channel as well, just to take on your queries and your questions. If you have any doubts, you have any confusion, you think you are blur in a certain area, you want clarity in a certain area, and you're confused with something which can affect your exam sitting on Monday, this is a session which is just for you. So in the next 60 minutes, you have an opportunity of asking as many questions you can, and uh, I will be taking on as much questions as possible within the limitations. So this is your session. If you have any queries for AAA, you want to ask anything, you want any clarity, you can go ahead and put your questions in the comment sections. Just before I start receiving questions, let's discuss something which could be very important for the upcoming exams on Monday. I believe staying calm is very important. Not just staying calm on Monday in the exam hall, but also staying calm for the next 48 hours is also very, very important, because at this point in time, when you're sitting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you have exams on Monday, normally lots of students starts to get into the panic mode and they start to get nervous. They get those anxiety attacks, and they start spoiling their preparation. So I think it's the time when you should keep yourself calm, and I think you should slow down your studies now, because by this point in time, you must ideally have done everything. I believe Sunday should be a relaxed day, should be an off day where you just relax your mind. You know, AAA is not a rote learn paper, it's a conceptual paper. It moves around a case study. So you have to take the right decisions on Monday within the 195 minutes. So I think you need to give your mind a break on Sunday. You need to relax your mind on Sunday, and just go down to the exam on Monday with a very calm, composed, and a very fresh mind, because that is much needed for the right decision making. Now, just before I speak more, I've started to get questions from students, and that should be prioritized. Okay, the first question is, sir, please tell me which other assignments are important. SN, basically, I think I put that in my recent exam tip sessions as well. I hope you've watched my YouTube video on that. Primarily, there was a new assignment added to syllabus area F, which was assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. An examining team has written 2 articles on it. I foresee that being tested in the recent exam settings. It could be June, it could be September. So, examiner asking you anything out of those 2 new articles written on assurance on social, environmental and sustainability information, particularly the methods in deciding whether to accept the engagement or not, and the procedures, which is the core part of those articles. And beside that, examiner favorite area has been the prospective financial information in recent past, but you cannot still ignore a chance of forensic assignment coming back in for the June 2023 exam. Okay, I hope I've answered your question, Essen Ali Khwaja. Okay, there is another question from Taha Ilyas. Is it an inherent business risk if a business deals in luxury niche products? Luxury niche products or a niche market can be a business risk, but it all depends upon the scenario. It all depends upon the competitive positioning of the business in the market, and it all depends upon your market share. It all depends upon how good you are in the market versus your competitors. So in the niche market, what is your sustainable position? What is your competitive position? I think we cannot just take it as an inherent risk. We need to look at the circumstances surrounding the luxury niche products in the case study given by the examiner. I hope I've answered your question, Taha Ilyas. There is another question from Ridwan Osman. Hello, sir. Please, can you throw more light on how to tackle a question on implication on the audit report? See, whenever a question asks you implication for the audit report, that basically means the impact on the audit report. Now, there must be a issue in the scenario, like an accounting issue, where the management has not corrected a misstatement, or where the management has done a wrong accounting treatment, or the management has not given a disclosure of something, etc. Now, first of all, you need to explain the issue. You need to tell what is wrong, what is understated, or what is overstated in the financial statement because of something not recorded or something not disclosed. You need to speak of its materiality. Is it material? Is it immaterial? The under and overstatements, the accounting treatments. Then you come down with that if the management refuse to amend, or if the management refuse to adjust or disclose, then you need to conclude that the financial statements are materially misstated, if it is material. And then you think about the right impact on the audit report. Is it a qualified opinion? Is it an adverse opinion? Or it could be any other situations like emphasis of a matter paragraph or MURGC, etc. And because of the opinion, like qualified opinion or adverse opinion, also telling about that opinion should be the first paragraph followed by the basis of the opinion, in which the auditor will tell the reason of giving a qualified opinion, and so on and so forth, and also telling that whether the report will be modified or not because of giving a qualified opinion. So you need to take that sequential steps for implication of the audit report. I hope I addressed your question, Rizwan Usman. Okay, there is another question from Tarab Tokir. What should be the ideal exam technique for attempting a quality management question? Tarab, first of all, you should be very clear with ISQM 1 and ISQM 2. You should know what is a system of quality management. You should know the six elements. You should know the elements, sorry, of the system of quality management given in the examiner article. And then the examining team has also emphasized that engagement performance and engagement resources are more core areas which comes in the case study. You need to see what actually is happening in the case study and where the quality has been compromised. You need to relate the issue in the scenario with what guidance is given in the ISQM1 and ISQM2. So it's basically like comparing the actual versus standard. Just like you find a material misstatement, so you compare the actual treatment versus the standard treatment and you find a material misstatement. So in the case of a quality management, you compare what actually has happened in the audit and what is the standard guidance. And that variance is what you are explaining. That variance is leading to the quality being quality has been compromised, or that variance is leading to a quality management issue in the scenario. So you should have a sound knowledge of what ISQM1 and 2 tells us, and what is happening in the case must be against it. So that against is basically the issue which is to be identified and explained. And then again, you're commenting that it has led to a quality management issue because of the problem given in the scenario. I hope I addressed your question, Tarab Tokir. Okay, there is another question from Muhammad Taha Reyaz. Please, can you throw more light on how to tackle a question on implication on the audit report? Taha, I think I just answered it. I hope you heard it. I was answering a question from Ridwan Usman. If you're clear, that's good enough. If you're not, you can still raise a question. Thank you. Okay, another question from Taha. Kindly elaborate on the marking scheme for matters to consider for accepting a new and existing client. For both cases, it's 1 mark per meta. Okay, another question from Mubarris. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Wa alaikum assalam. Can management test the drafting of CAM? Can management test the drafting of CAM? Or you're trying to say, can the examiner test the examiner tests the drafting of CAM. See, you need to know the circumstances in which CAM should come in the audit report. So if you're reading a case and you believe there is a situation for which a CAM should be added in the audit report, you should know that, and you should know you're not right. You're not expected to write a CAM or the language of CAM. But yes, if examiner can ask you what is included in CAM, in CAM we include two things: why the matter was considered as CAM, and how the auditor addressed the matter. So basically, the auditor is telling two things in CAM. Why the matter was addressed as, why the matter was identified as CAM, because it was significant, because it was important, it was a risky area, it was a subjective area, it was something where the auditor believed there was some risk involved, etc., or there was an uncertainty with it. And how you addressed it, that is your procedure. But you're not writing the language of CAM, you're just identifying that this situation gave rise to a CAM, and the auditor should tell why the matter was considered as scam, which you must be telling in the scenario that it is material, or it is an uncertain area, or it is a subjective area, so on and so forth, and what the auditor did to address the scam. But you're not writing the language. I hope I've cleared you on, but if you think you need to put the question again, you're more than welcome. Okay, Mubarris, summary financials, ISA 810 or ISA 805. No, that's not needed for the AAA paper. So please just ignore it and focus on the core aspects of the AAA. Okay, another question from Jasil. What are the benchmarks that we should consider when the requirement for critical appraisal for the audit report? See, in the critical appraisal of the audit report, Jasil, examiner will give you a section of the report where there must be some problems. Now, it could be something very obvious. For example, the senior or manager who's preparing the report has used the name of a director or a designation of the director. The language of the audit report, we use the word management. We don't refer to any designation, or we don't refer to anything like the name of a person. So there could be some very obvious mistakes. And I think if you are my regular student, or not even my regular student, there is a need to read one standard report of a company, because when you read one standard report of a company, at least you get familiar with the language of the audit report. And then we're looking at a case on a critical appraisal. There could be a wrong opinion, and you need to justify why it is wrong, and then need to tell why. There could be a situation where emphasis has been given, but it should not be a case of emphasis, or MURGC has been added when it should not be added, or a CAM has been added when it should not be added. So there could be issues like something wrong given in the report, a wrong opinion given, and you need to judge why it is wrong and what should be correct. A wrong paragraph given, like CAM given, EOMP given, MURGC given, and you believe, no, this should not be a case of CAM or MURGC or emphasis, rather it should be a qualified opinion. So you just need to relate your knowledge with the paragraphs and opinions, and find whether the opinion and paragraphs have been given rightly or they have been given wrongly, and then justify what should be correct. There could be some problems in the language of the audit report. Auditor is just saying as per the accounting standards, not referring to the name and number of the accounting standard, because in the audit report everything has to be very particular, very specific. Proper references of the law, proper references of the accounting standards should be given. I hope you're clear on that, Jasil. Okay, there is another question from Umar Akram. Would it be correct audit procedure to check the reasonableness of management assumption? Example, in a case of provision. Yes, exactly. Checking the management reasonableness of assumption, the underlying basis of assumption, that is a very correct procedure, because that is exactly what the auditor do. The auditor need to check or review, or critically review the underlying basis and assumptions used while the management was making an assumption. So that's a perfect procedure for provision. Omar Akram. Okay, another one from Aditya. Hi, could you please suggest which topic has the high chances of being asked from other assignments? I think I just made that clear at the beginning of the session. The new additions, assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information holds the key to me. Number one. Number two, it could be forensic, and then again the examiner favorite, prospective financial information. Okay, a question from Diana. In some questions, I have used to read the scenario, make notes in my mind, and after type the whole answer in a more simple way from the examiner's sample answer. Was that correct? Yes, you can take a lot of inspiration and guidance from the examiner answer, because that can really add value to your language you are using in your actual answer on Monday. That is the right approach for preparation. But in the exam, when you are looking at a case study, you need to extract relevant points from the case study, and then try to blend them out in your in with your logical explanation. I hope I addressed your question in a more appropriate manner, Diana. Okay, moving on. There's a question from Mobraze again. I mean, drafting of CAM can be tested in exam. No, CAM drafting cannot be tested, but yes, the knowledge can be tested. That is, there is a situation, and you believe, oh, this situation give rise to a CAM. That is what is needed, right? You need to judge whether a situation give rise to CAM, not the drafting of the CAM section itself. Okay, Rangan Chatterjee, sir, any mnemonic for ISQM1 component? Or no, not no mnemonic. You just need to remember the SOQM, the System of Quality Management, or if you can just make a mnemonic yourself, and you know the critical parts of SOQM, System of Quality Management, which are more relevant to exam paper, as highlighted by the examiner in the article, Rangan, is engagement, performance, and engagement resources. So that's where you should be more good at. Okay, how many risk for 24 marks? If it is a 24 marks audit risk or ROM, you know 3 marks are for materiality. So 24 minus 3 is 21. And then 21, every risk is worth 3 marks. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. So 7 audit risk or 7 ROM for a 24 marks answer. Okay, Hardik. Uh, and that 24 marks question was from Mehmood Nazim. Okay, we have another question from Hardik. For the quality management issue, what sort of conclusion should we provide at the end of the audit? The conclusion is very simple. You will say that the above issues or the issues identified and discussed above have compromised the quality, or have compromised the quality of how the audit was planned and performed. And the audit firm should ensure that the quality management standards are appropriately put in place for the future audits, so such issues are not repeated or rectified. That is it. Okay. Okay, another question, not an appropriate name of the student, but the question is how to tackle a question when we are the group auditor and there is a component auditor. There are lots of questions which comes in this context. If there is a question on audit risk, you would just tackle a question on audit risk the normal way. But yes, if there is a knowledge question whereby you're asked that what procedures or what methods will the group auditor consider when using the work of component auditor, then you need to consider the competence and experience of the component auditor, the independence of the component auditor, how the work has been performed by the component auditor, and is it well documented. So there has to be an effective liaison and a communication between the group auditor and the component auditor. A question on such has come in the past paper, testing knowledge, just like using the work of internal auditor, or who is a significant component and what should the group auditor do for a significant component. So that these are knowledge based questions, but other questions like audit risk is done in the normal way you do a normal question. Okay, there is another question from Frank. What if the exhibits given under question 1, there is no clear indication whether the engagement is new or existing? Are we supposed just to assume it is an existing client? Yes, if the question is silent, then you assume it is an existing client. That's perfectly right thought process, Frank. Okay, another question from Muhammad Tahar Riaz. Salam, sir. Walaikum salam. I am still having difficulties in answering the question. Is there any way, simple and systematic way of drafting? See, you need to read the requirement, see what the examiner is asking you. Then, accordingly, you need to lay out your answer by connecting the requirement with the case study, identifying the issues or risk or evidence or procedures from the case study. The more you blend the case study in your answer, or the more you synchronize your requirements with the case study, the better your answer will be. But I'm not sure what sort of difficulties you are facing. If you can just highlight on that or any specific topic wise difficulty, so I can give you a more appropriate answer, Muhammad Taha Riaz. Okay, another question from Tolben. What should we consider critical for group audit in June? See, for group audits, there is a requirement on audit risk, right? That you are a group auditor, or you are auditing XYZ group, and evaluate the audit risk or evaluate the ROM. So these sort of requirements are quite typical, right? And you can foresee them in the June 23 exams as well. A question on group audit risk. Okay, another question from Thira. Uh, Good evening, sir. Good evening to you as well. Is it necessary to remember the full forms of every ISA? No, there is no marks for putting the name and the reference number of ISA or their full forms. You just need to relate the knowledge, apply the knowledge without naming the ISAs or the IFRS. Examiner do so in the model answer just for the sake of knowledge. But for a student, there are no allocated marks for it. Okay, another question from Diana. I have not opened any books, only watched 4 webinars, worked on CBE, nothing else. Hope this is fine. This is fine if you're repeating the AAA paper, because if you're repeating the AAA paper, a book is no success, right? It's the practice, it's the concepts, it's the techniques, it's the way you attack the requirements, connect them with the case study. It's the way you write the answer, basically, Diana. That's basically the success in AAA. So if you're repeating, then your approach is perfectly fine. And again, just 2 days away, there is no much time for books to be opened now. Okay, another question. Usually in question, we will have one answer. When should we answer in both perspective, material and not pervasive, material and pervasive? See, um, the, if you believe, like a disclosure, right? A disclosure is very difficult to judge. Is it material or is it material and pervasive? So in that case, you can give a diplomatic answer. But when you're finding a misstatement, numerical misstatement, and you take out a percentage on a calculator, it's very simple to judge, is it material or is it material and pervasive? Because we normally assume that something which is more than 65, 66% of the profit is considered as material and pervasive, which has a significant impact on profit, or a situation which can turn the profit to loss. But yes, for disclosure, we are at times confused whether it is a material disclosure or a material and pervasive disclosure. Though we normally take disclosures as material only, we don't take disclosures as material and pervasive. So I think numerically, the percentage will guide you. Is it material? uh, or is it material and pervasive? So I don't think so. There is a need to write a diplomatic answer for that. And in the case of disclosures, we normally take disclosures as material only. So I think you will be wasting a lot of time if you go with both 1 and 2, material and pervasive. That will just drag your answer and waste a lot of critical time you have in the exam paper, which is of a sense. Okay, another question from Mobraze. In the suggested answer, examiner always calculate the materiality on adjusted profit and not on the pre-adjusted profit, which is correct. See, from your exam perspective, as a student with 195 minutes, you will go with pre-adjusted profit. You will not be adjusting the profit. You will just be using the profit before tax figure, which is given in the question. You will not be adjusting it. Examiner has done it very rarely. It's not a continuous practice of the examiner. It's not a regular practice of the examiner. And as a suggestion for students, you should just be using the profit number given in the exam paper, not adjusting the profit number. That will save a lot of your critical time and will not impact on the quality of the answer you're writing. I hope you're clear on that, Mobraze. Okay. Okay, another question from a student. So please give a summarized overview for the mindset required to handle the section B matters based question. See, if you're approaching a question in section B which asks you matters, you should focus on and the evidence. If it is a question on evidence and you're focusing on the matters, then the matters are all accounting matters. So for accounting matter, your approach is the same as you are writing a ROM answer or an audit risk answer. Your first matter is the materiality. Then you comment on the accounting treatment. You identify what is wrong in the accounting treatment. You tell what is the standard treatment. You try to identify that because of the wrong accounting treatment, what is understated and what is overstated. So that is what you do in a question on matters when the question is on evidence. And for evidence, you write the evidences in the working paper file. But if a question is on matter in a reporting area, Then again, in a reporting area, the matter again would be accounting matter. You need to comment on the accounting matter. You need to comment on the materiality. You need to comment on that because of the wrong accounting treatment, what is understated and overstated. But one extra step which you take, uh, the matter in evidence question is same as you write a wrong answer, risk of material misstatement. The matter in a reporting question is the same as you write a wrong answer, plus there is one additional matter, which is the impact on the audit report or impact on the audit opinion. So that is one incremental matter you're writing in the case of a matter on reporting. I hope I'm clear, made you clear on that question. Okay, there is another question from Mittal. Mittal is saying, hi, sir. Hi, Mittal. And this then comes the next question from Mittal. Hi, sir. While answering a quality management question, is it necessary to give reference to ISO name and numbers? Not at all. Not at all. There are no marks for it. Please avoid that. Anything which waste your time in exam paper, please avoid that. Examiner do that because it's a model answer and the model answer is for education and guidance, but not everything in the model answer can be followed in 195 minutes. And examining team has made it again and again clear that there are no marks for name and reference of the ISA or IFRS. Another question from Jawad Afridi. Can you please differentiate between CAM and emphasis case when example? See, in a case of a listed company, we know CAM is given precedence over EOMP, and that's a very strong statement. CAM should be given precedence over EOMP. So technically it means that in case of a listed company, we're just speaking of CAM, no EOMP. But yes, there is one situation only where EOMP comes both in listed company and non-listed company, and that is the situation covered by ISA 570 going concern. And that situation has already been covered in my YouTube video yesterday. I posted. That is, if the financial statements are prepared on a breakup basis, liquidation basis, when the company is not a going concern, an auditor agrees to it. Auditor agrees that financial statements should not be prepared on a going concern basis, and management has prepared the financial statement not on a going concern basis. So that is perfect. Now, if the financial statements are prepared on a breakup basis and the management has given an adequate disclosure of that in the notes to the account, now that disclosure is to be put in EOMP for both the listed company and the non-listed company. In that way, in that case, CAM will not come in listed company. Otherwise than that, in all other matters, CAM should be given precedence over EOMP in a case of a listed company. If you understand what precedence means, I hope you got clarity on that, Jawad Afridi. Okay, another question from Umar. What is negative assurance engagements? Are all assurance engagements other than audit get a limited assurance from the auditor? Yes, mostly review engagements, right? Moderate assurance, limited assurance is also known as negative assurance. And I think minus the audit, in terms of your syllabus, right? In terms of your syllabus, all other engagements are moderate assurance except for audit. But yes, there was a topic like assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information, which where examining team has written an article, the new edition. I hope you've seen the syllabus area F, the new articles, assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. In that way, assurance is to be decided between the management and the auditor. If the management asks you a reasonable assurance, then you will offer a reasonable assurance engagement. If the management asks you a negative assurance or a moderate assurance, then you will give negative assurance. So that new assignment added assurance on social, environmental, and sustainability information. In that way, you need to decide the assurance level with the management, and that could be both reasonable or limited. I hope I've made you clear on that, Umar Akram. Otherwise, than that, all other assignments are limited assurance. Forensic is not even a limited assurance engagement because forensic is a fact-finding assignment where no assurance is given. Rather, you're just finding the facts. Okay, Edmund has a question. Is there any limit on 3 marks for significant risk? What is the limit on the number of points for 3 marks? See, every risk which you identify, Edmund, out of an accounting treatment is worth 3 marks. But if you find a detection risk, that is 2 marks. If you find any control related risk where you don't have an accounting treatment, that is 2 marks. But any accounting related risk where you need to speak of the accounting treatment, that is worth 3 marks. Okay, Can you give me a summary on the marking schemes? I think everything is worth, only the areas which are worth 2 marks is business risk, going concern matters. If the question asks you matters which may cast doubt on the going concern status, that is worth 2 marks. Business risk is worth 2 marks. All other things are worth 1 mark. Advantages, disadvantages, benefits, they can all be worth 2 marks. Uh, Rest all is worth 1 mark. Audit risk and ROM is worth 3 marks. Critical appraisal. Edmund is asking a question. Critical appraisal on management letter is possible? No, 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 not at all, not at all. Another question from Edmund. How should we calculate on the business, conclude on the business and ROM after writing the points? Is the conclusion after each risk? No, conclusion is after, suppose in the part A you have business risk and in the part B you have the ROM. So you will give conclusion after the B part. And that is the overall conclusion for primarily the ROM, because in the ROM you have to conclude the basis of your prioritized risk. Examiners looking for the why, on what basis you prioritize the risk. You're not primarily giving a conclusion for business risk, you're primarily giving a conclusion for ROM. That's what the examining team is looking for. If you need any further clarity on that, Edmund, you can go ahead and ask another question. Okay, another question from Mahmoud Nazim, sorry. If there is no adequate disclosure for going concern, is it pervasive? Yes, it is pervasive, and it should be an adverse opinion if no adequate disclosures are given for MURGC. Taha Javed. So, what should we be focusing on for the next 2 days, considering this is my second attempt? I believe Saturday and Sunday, you should read one examiner report on Saturday, one examiner report on Sunday. Just try to read it like a story, try to identify the problems the student do and why they fail. If you can just read it like a story, just underline the problems and try just to recall whether you are doing these problems when you are attempting it. So I think those problems and absorption of those problems can really help you on Monday not to repeat them. So I think in the last 2 days, either it's the mock exam or it's the examiner reports which you are doing on Saturday and Sunday. Taha, and I wish you the very best of luck. Considering it's your second attempt, hopefully you will pass this time. Okay, another question from Edmund. Is there any marks for analytical for business risk questions? See, in a business risk question, if you identify a percentage, for example, you say sales have increased by 25%, and you did identify it that sales have increased by 25%, and you connected that with any sort of a business risk. Any percentage identified and used as part of a business risk will give you an extra 0.5 marks. So that business risk will become 2.5 marks. Okay, another question from Mithil. For review engagement, auditor express conclusion and not an opinion. Yes, it's right. But again, that conclusion is in form of an opinion. It is in form of opinion, right? And that conclusion could be qualified as well in our opinion, except for, I hope you've seen questions where examiner has given you a report on PFI and has asked you to critically appraise the report on PFI. So in that case, opinion was given. And if some assumptions are wrong in PFI, so we say in our opinion, except for these assumptions, rest of the assumptions are fine on the basis of which PFI has been prepared. So that conclusion is more like an opinion. Okay, Rasul Baksh. Okay, thank you very much, Rasul Baksh. I remember you. You qualified in 2012, so you have been my very old student. And thanks for watching this session. Okay, another question, sir. How to write a good procedure faster, even using the CASP method by you? Any guides to him? No, the CASP is the best way. If you're absorbing CASP, if CASP is really helping you write a good procedure, then that's the way forward. Another question from Sanisha. Is it mandatory to write a conclusion in section A? Conclusion after audit risk, conclusion after ROM. Primarily, it's a conclusion and ROM, where the conclusion is telling the basis of your significant and prioritized risk. You're not giving any conclusion at the end of a briefing note. Conclusion is to be given where the examiner asks you to evaluate something. So examiner asks you to evaluate the ROM, evaluate the audit risk. So you have to give a conclusion for audit risk and ROM. So conclusion will come right after the requirement of audit risk and ROM, not at the end of the briefing note. But yes, at the end of the briefing note, if there is a D requirement and the D requirement asks you evaluate the ethical issues, then you have to give a conclusion for ethical issues as well. Okay, the next question from Edmund. How do you answer questions on sufficiency of evidence on working paper? Yes, the evidence gathered by the audit team would be insufficient, and that's what you need to identify, that why it is insufficient. You when you're reading through the case, you will believe that some evidence has been gathered less, or there is some sort of a there is some sort of insufficiency in the evidence the audit team has gathered. For example, they have not circularized the debtor confirmation while they were verifying the existence of the debtor, or they have not taken representation letters on estimates used by management. So there will be a very definite uh, issue in the way the evidence has been gathered by the audit team, and you believe the evidence they have gathered is too less or not adequate, and then you need to tell what else the audit team could have done here, or why the evidence gathered by the audit team is inadequate according to you, what else they should have done to make it adequate. Okay, another question from Hasnan. Salam, sir. Walaikum salam. In your view, which topics have high chances to come up in the exam setting for Section B? Quality management, I foresee that as one big question in Section B. And one of the question is completion and reporting. So one of the question is mandatory from completion and reporting stage. But one of them this time can be quality management, because that's the more frequently tested area, and an area which is more new, and examining team will keep testing it for at least few exam settings. Okay, Rizwan putting another question. If the profit figure for the current year is significantly higher than that of the last year due to wrong treatment of a transaction, should I still use the profit? Yes, you still use the profit as it is, not adjusting it. Another question from Shahria. If the examiner asks business and audit risk, then materiality paragraph written after introduction paragraph or after the business risk but before the audit risk, you can write it right after the introduction. You can write the materiality paragraph right after the introduction and then do the business risk and then do the audit risk. That is also fine. Or you can directly start after the introduction, the business risk, then you put the materiality paragraph, and then you do the audit risk. To me, the second approach is more better. That first you write the business risk, then you write the materiality paragraph, and then you start writing the audit risk. So the second approach to me is more logical. Okay, there is another question. Just want to confirm, there is no need to prioritize the business risk. I did make that very clear in my YouTube video as well. You just need to prioritize the audit risk, not the business risk. Okay, what to do for the next 2 days? I just made that very clear. Read examiner reports. You should focus reading 2 examiner reports in the last 2 days and practice. Nothing else. No technical stuff should come in the last 2 days. Shazad Hussain, Assalamu alaikum, sir. Walaikum salam. How much to write for accounting treatments? 2 lines. 2 sentences, not lines, 2 sentences. A sentence is where you put a full stop. Some accounting standards are very healthy, very productive. Related party disclosure, the management should give an adequate disclosure of a related party transaction. That's just 1 sentence. But if you're writing on research and development, you need to write some criteria of development cost that might take 2 to 3 sentences. Or asset held for sale, you need to write the criteria for asset held for sale. That can take a bit of sentences. If you're writing on impairment, you need to write about recoverable amount, then carrying amount, then value in use. That can take some 2 to 3 sentences. So it depends upon which accounting standard you're writing as well. If the examiner gives 9 months, do we have to extrapolate? No, you don't need to extrapolate for materiality. If the 9 months data is given, you still use the 9 months data for determining the materiality. No extrapolations. Okay. So I was just discussing with all of you that Monday, when you have your real exam, the real challenge, 195 minutes are the decider between success and failure. What you do in 195 minutes, you must have done lots of assignments. Your tutor must have checked lots of assignments for you. You must have got a very good feedback. You must have been a very good student in the last 3 months. You got all very favorable feedback from your tutor. But that case study on Monday is a different study. That case study on Monday is not the case study you have done before under the guidance of the tutor. That case study you're not doing at home. You're doing in a real exam environment. That really counts. you know the techniques. The requirements of AAA never change. What the examiner is asking never change. The composition of section A and B never change. It's just a case study. So if you know the techniques, you know how to go down, drilling the case study, identifying the issues, the problems, the ethical issues, the audit risk, the business risk. No case study should be a challenge for you. Yes, if you struggle somewhere, you are wasting time somewhere on deciding something, it's better to move on rather than just stopping at one thing and wasting your time or thinking a lot more than the time you have. If there is a certain part which you are not able to understand, or is there a certain paragraph in the case study which you are not able to understand, move on, move on. Right decision making in 195 minutes is very, very important. A lot of times the student gets stuck. They keep thinking something they don't know. Why are you doing so? Why are you doing so? Because you're wasting your remaining paper. You're wasting your remaining paper where you have opportunities to be grabbed up. I always tell my student, optimism should prevail. Optimism should prevail. Look at the opportunities. Look at the opportunities. Not look at something you don't know. Leave it. If there is even a 10 marks section you don't know, leave it. Look at the 90 marks, do the best in the 90 marks, and you will still pass the AAA paper. You can fairly get 55, 58 marks even from 90. And if you're a superb student, you might even get 67, 68 from 90 as well. But don't just, uh, if you don't know the 10 marks, don't let that 10 marks dominate you or dominate your failure. Look at optimism, look at the opportunities, because it is the opportunities which should be grabbed by you. If you're not grabbing the opportunities, you're just looking at the weaknesses, you're just looking at the threats. That is not success, right? I think right decisions, uh, staying calm, controlling your emotions, not being nervous, keeping yourself very composed, keeping your mind very open. You know everything, and everything is right here. It's just about looking into the case study, getting involved in the case study as much as you know, and try to bring out the best answer. So please, leave aside the pessimism, leave aside what you don't know, focus on what you know, try to do the best within that, focus on time management. I have been guiding you on that in the last 1 week and 10 days on my YouTube as well. Time management for each question is very important. Whatever best you can do within the time you have for each question, do it and move on. Don't spend overtime on question one. uh, I don't know why the student do so. I fail to address this issue, that you're still taking a lot of time on question number one. The question number one has 97 minutes, including the reading and planning time. In 97 minutes, whatever you can do best, do it and move on. It's not just the question number one which will make you pass the triple paper. And students are not understanding this. I don't know why. So I think there's one more question. Okay, should Taha is asking, should quantity of the answer matter? Uh, Depth of answer matter. Depth of answer matter. uh, the answer depth should be good. For example, a business risk, 3 to 4 sentences, that is a good depth. For an audit risk with an accounting treatment, 4 to 5 sentences. An audit risk without an accounting treatment, 3 sentences. Procedures are just like one sentence long. So that is it. I think it's the depth. It's the clarity. It's the clarity of your answer which counts. It should not have any ambiguity. If you are explaining something, you should have the very good reasons, very good supports, very good arguments, very good basis. That is exactly what counts, Taha. Okay, another question from Aksa. Is it must to write about analytical procedures separately in ROM audit risk, or can we incorporate it within the risk identified? You can incorporate within the risk identified. September 2018 question. Question number one, September 2018. That question specifically asks for use analytical procedure. Now, in a question like such, you then give the table of ratio, and then you identify the risk under every ratio. That is something different. September 18, question number one. Otherwise, then that if the question is not asking for analytical procedures, you can just use numbers given in the exam paper, and you can identify any risk from the numbers as part of your regular ROM and audit risk answer. I hope I made you clear on that, Aksa. So I hope you got clarities to your questions. Lots of questions came in today, and I hope you got clarity, because that is much needed for Monday. Because if you go unclear to exam hall on Monday, you might do mistakes, which shouldn't be the case. And the session has been called in just for the addressing of the problem. That I believe there are students who have problems, who have issues, and they should get them addressed down ahead of their exams on Monday. Okay, much more questions coming in now. Muhammad Yazid is asking a question. According to you, which section is better to attempt first? Section A, fresh mind. I need the fresh mind, fresh energy, the best of your energy to be utilized in the section A. Not when you're tired, you're nervous, you're frustrated, and you come back to section A. No, never. Section A first. Okay, will this live video be uploaded? Yes, it will immediately be uploaded on YouTube. You can watch it on my YouTube channel under the live section. You can also watch it on my Facebook channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you will watch it under the live section. Okay, Shahriar, is climate risks can be tested in upcoming attempt? I believe so. It was in the June mock. It was even in the September mock. So back to back in September mock, in June mock. So if you read the mind of the marker, he might bring the climatic risk in the real exam as well. Okay, Rizwan Usman saying Jazakallah khair, sir. Thank you so much, Rizwan. Wish you success as well. Wish all of you success. Those who joined the session, asked the questions, and those who couldn't. You are my student, my regular student. You are my YouTube students. You watch my free webinars. You watch my paid courses. You just follow me. You take my guidance. You take my tips. I wish you all success in your upcoming exams. Edmund, if the examiner gives 9 months, so do we have to extrapolate it for 12 months before calculating materiality? No, you will just use the 9 month data. You will just use the 9 month data. I made that clear, Edmund, to your previous question as well. Okay. Jawad, with your inspiring words echoing in my mind, I am ready to tackle the exam with a positive mindset. I will work hard, stay focused, and strive to achieve the goals. That is the spirit, Jawad. Thank you so very much. If you're understanding my words, and my words are an inspiration for you, because positive mindset, what you used in your question, is very very important, and that is needed in 195 minutes. See, you will know something, you will not know something. That's true for everyone. Even I see, if I sit in a real exam for AAA after teaching so much, a real exam is a new challenge for you. And you will get distracted with something which you must not have seen previously. But taking the right decisions, keeping yourself calm and composed, grabbing the opportunities and leaving what you don't know, looking at the optimism, not pessimism, looking at half the class is full, not half the class is empty. These are some things which can do wonder. I think that psychological therapy, that stable, your stability of emotions, keeping yourself calm. I think these are also very important things in exam. The behavioral psychology. It's not just how much knowledge you have. It's about how intelligent you have, your IQ, in on the day of exam. Taking the right decisions is also what counts. And I hope you all agree with me that your intelligence in 195 minutes, how much you have studied, you have done BPP, you have done Kaplan, you have done both kits, you have done past papers, you've done mock exam, you've got brilliant feedback from the tutor, can all go down Wayne, can all go down the path of failure if if you spoil your real 195 minutes. I hope you agree with me. It's the intelligence in that 195 minutes which makes the student pass or fail the AAA exam. Okay, another question from your Fred. If a question asks for matters to consider and audit evidence for 8 marks, how many points must you write under each? See, matters technically, one matter is materiality, one matter is accounting treatment, one matter is under an overstatement. So technically, I get 3 marks for that. So remaining 5 marks, I need to write 5 evidences. The next question is asking, Hira is asking a question. Can you please repeat which topics are worth 2 marks? Business risk, going concern matters, benefits, advantages, disadvantages, like advantages and disadvantages of joint audit. They're all worth 2 marks. So that is it. Okay, another question from Edmund. What do you do when you have 10 minutes and you have points that explaining will take a lot of time? Do you list points exactly? I even put that in my exam technique video, that in the last 10 minutes, if you have a whole question to complete, and if you go with paragraphing or explaining, you might not even be completing half of it. So it's better to put the answer in bullets form in the last 10 minutes. At least for every well identified point, you will get 0.5 marks. So that is a very good strategy in the last 10 minutes. Okay, so Alex is saying, thank you so much, sir. You're welcome and wish you success. So just one final discussion with all of you. I hope you all agree with this thing on your screen now, that if you do not know a requirement, move on. I hope this is something which will be implemented on Monday with positivity and with an open mind. I hope you all agree with this, right? Staying calm and taking the right decisions. I hope you all agree with this. This will really contribute towards your success. That is very, very important. I hope you all agree with this. 195 minutes are the deciders. What you do in this 195 minutes counts towards your success and failure. Okay, another last question taking. What is the best way to answer ethics question? I hope you have read the Examiner article, Applying Ethics in AAA, the new article under the section B. And that article really well explained what you need to do for ethics. Please do read it on Saturday and Sunday. It is just about picking up the ethical issue from the case, like self-review, self-interest, familiarity, and then explaining why it is a self-review or why it is a familiarity. Because a lot of time the student pick the threat, but they fail to elaborate why it is a threat in the context of the case. Examiner is looking for why to give you 1 mark for an ethical issue. And for every ethical issue, try to put in a safeguard for another 1 mark. I hope you got that way. But again, you're pleased to read the exam technique article on ethics under the syllabus area B, recently published by the examining team on Saturday and Sunday, will contribute a lot towards your success. Okay, so I wish you all a very best of luck for your exams, the Advanced Audit and Assurance exam on Monday. I hope you will do your best. You will try to understand the tips, the techniques, the guidance, the inspirational words which has been shared with all of you to motivate you. Again, that 195 minutes is your real challenge, and whoever gets out of that challenge in a more positive manner, in a more optimistic manner, in a more staying calm and composed manner, will be successful. So I wish you all a very best of luck. My prayers, my well wishes are with all of you for your success in the triple exam. Lots of guidance being shared with my paid students, my unpaid students, my free students, my YouTube students, my Facebook students. I hope you will try to use the blend of the right techniques towards excelling in the AAA paper. Thank you so very much, all of you, for joining in, asking your questions, sharing your thoughts, and the well wishes you have shared with me as a tutor. I'm really overwhelmed with that. And I wish you all a very best of luck. You can follow these recordings on my facebook.com/kktlp, and you can follow the recordings on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kashif Kamran. Once again, wish you the very best of luck. Now, back to studies, no more social media, and do your best in the next 2 days. Just it's the time you do the icing on the cake. Wish you best of luck. Take care. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz, all of you. Your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from this Facebook live session on exam questions and answers for AAA. Yes, you are welcome. Mahfujur, wish you the very best of luck as well.